Well, good morning, everybody. We're GFBS. We are Grand Forks' best source, giving Grand Forks an identity again. And new to our show today, it's the first of our weekly real estate segments. And we would like to welcome Jon Broden from Berkshire Hathaway. How you doing today, Jon?
Hey, thanks for having me, John. I'm doing good.
First off, I'm kind of dumb when it comes to this kind of stuff. What is Berkshire Hathaway? Who are you guys? What do you do?
So we're a real estate company. We help buyers and sellers buy and sell homes in the Grand Forks area. Berkshire Hathaway, is a franchise where we became a part of the Berkshire Hathaway franchise just a little less than 2 years ago. We were Century 21 previously, so
okay.
Everybody sees Berkshire Hathaway as a new name in town, but it's really not a new company. It's the same agents and ownership and brokerage that Century 21 was. Berkshire Hathaway is a really reputable company worldwide. They're a global company. Their real estate arm is global as well. So we get access to a lot of resources with that local companies don't have. They're very, very picky about who they bring onto their brand.
Okay.
So it was a pretty big deal to be approached by them back in October of 2018. Well, they approached us before that, but that's when we officially made the switch. They liked what we had done with Century 21 over the years previous to that, so they offered us to become a part of their franchise, and yeah, we accepted.
Before we get rolling here, let's find out a little bit about Jon Broden. Where are you from? Tell us about yourself, Jon.
So born and raised here in Grand Forks. I've been selling real estate. This is my 6th year in the business, full-time real estate agent. I've basically jumped into it full-time like a career, it's been my career for the past 6 years. I love it. I love helping people. I love, nothing makes me happier than being able to do a good job for my clients where they're happy that they found me and worked with me. So
let me ask you this. Were you a Rough Rider or a Knight?
Rough Rider.
A Rough Rider. Okay. We're not going to hold that against him. You know what? If somebody, Jon, has a house that they maybe want to sell, what's that market like right now?
The market's actually really good. So one of the differences between this summer and last summer, obviously we had everything that happened with COVID. We especially felt that in April this summer or this spring. But right now, so far, June is actually, this June, we're actually at the same number of pendings as we were last June.
Okay.
So we're going to exceed last June and beat last June. So it's fair to say that the activity is back to normal. Biggest difference is the inventory. The inventory is much, much lower this year.
Oh, okay. Not as many houses for sale.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. In Grand Forks last year, at this point in time, there was 318 listings on the market.
Okay.
This year, 252.
Wow.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
So you're always looking at the balance between supply and demand when you're looking at whether it's a good market for buyers or for sellers, right? When you have less inventory, and the same activity that's happening, that favors sellers. And it's usually more of a seller's market this time of year anyway, but the low inventory is, it exaggerates that a little bit. And the low inventory, that was the situation even through the whole COVID thing. That really helped our market out and saved us, because if inventory would have been really high and activity dropped off the way that it did,
okay,
sellers would be in a tough spot. But the fact that inventory was low really saved things.
So it's,
for somebody that doesn't know anything about, real estate, whenever I hear somebody say, well, what's the housing market like? I'm like, oh, boring. Yeah. Like, what does that even mean? So you're saying basically it's, if you have more houses that are on the market for sale, then they become kind of cheaper if you're going to be purchasing them.
You got it. Yep.
Okay.
If there's more options available for buyers, that's going to benefit the buyers.
Okay.
If there's fewer options for sale, that's going to help sellers and drive prices upward. Over the past 5 years, the market has been a lot more balanced, meaning that it's kind of in that equilibrium between being a buyer's or a seller's market, if that makes sense. In the years leading up to like 2016, though, you had a dramatic shift in the balance.
Sure.
Where it really favored sellers for a few years in a row. And that's when we really saw prices rise, along with other factors like low interest rates, made for, prices don't just chug along at a steady rate, increasing year after year. You often see, you know, spikes in the Midwest, at least. You often see spikes where it grows real fast, and then you kind of see plateaus. And, you know, if you're on the coast, it's even more dramatic.
Sure.
Bigger spikes. And rather than plateaus, you oftentimes see dips and spikes and dips and spikes. The Midwest is more stable in general.
You know, when I was, you know, even looking for my house, you know, I wasn't concerned about the market. You know, I was more concerned about finding a home that was affordable, that I liked, you know, and that had the amenities that I was looking for, like a big fenced-in backyard or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So I personally, I think for me, I mean, I wouldn't, unless I was like a person that like buys and flips houses, I wouldn't care about the market. I'm just looking for something that would meet my needs.
Yeah, yep. You can never really time the market. And here's the thing. If you were to sit there and try to time the market and wait for a time when inventory is really high to buy your home and prices have maybe fallen and you have a little bit more negotiating power, you know, if it stays that way, well, you're going to run into the same problem when you go to sell it, right? If it changes in your favor and when you go to sell it, the market's much different and the market is inventory has dropped, right? And you've got a situation where it's a strong seller's market when you go to sell. Well, unless you're moving into an apartment, which nobody really does, that's very rare that we see somebody sell a home and move into an apartment. You're probably buying your next home. Well, that seller's market is going to make it harder for you to buy your next home because you're going to be fighting off multiple offers and, you know, paying a premium for your next home. So unless you're renting or leaving the area, timing the market is really tough to do. It's better to just be in the market for the long run. You know, low interest rates are always good. If you haven't yet, it's a great idea to take advantage of low interest rates and refinance your loan. That's a great way to, you know, build your equity faster or lower your monthly payment. But timing the market is just, it's not the move. The move is to get in and stay in.
So obviously, as we're getting into this now, there's way more to it than I ever imagined, because you'll see a lot of people will try to sell a house on their own.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, after even talking with you here for 7 minutes, John, there's way more to it than that. And that's where guys like you come in.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised. It might seem like a lot of people try to sell their houses on their own, but it's actually a pretty small percentage of the number of people who sell. Like I'd say 9 out of every 10 sellers are contacting their realtor or interviewing realtors and picking a realtor to handle their sale. There's a few people who think they can do it themselves. Maybe they've done it themselves before and it was easy, you know, that sort of thing. But you're not gonna, I mean, we could get into a lot of different things why it pays off. There's a reason we're in business.
Sure.
Hiring a good real estate agent is always going to pay off when you're selling. You know, listing agent aside, you know, regardless of who you pick, when your house is on the MLS, you have all 250 realtors in the Grand Forks area working for you trying to sell your home. When you're for sale by owner, you don't have that.
Okay.
You know, to make it as simple as possible. The buyers, almost all qualified buyers, already have their agent that they're working with. It's free for an agent to work with, or for a buyer to work with an agent. So all the qualified buyers, the people who you want to reach, already have an agent. You need those agents working for you to push their qualified buyers to your listing. I mean, it's the way that you're going to get top dollar. You know, you might, and if you do sell for sale by owner, the thing that people oftentimes forget is, let's say you're quoted a 6% commission, right? So they think they're going to save 6% if they sell it on their own. Chances are they're really only going to save 3% if they sell it on their own. Because those qualified buyers are represented by agents. So even if they do find one of those qualified buyers and manage to find one, they're still going to end up paying that agent who's going to handle the transaction. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Now, one thing I have noticed, I was in the construction business for a long time, and you'll see some of these houses that are for sale, and you look at them and go, you know, it wouldn't take that much to pretty this thing up. You wouldn't have to hire a contractor. You don't really have to be a handyman. But I'm sure you see that a lot. And what are some of the things that people can do to actually make their house look better? I mean, where it's going to catch a buyer's eye.
So carpet and paint, or if we're talking short-term things, like I want to sell this summer and I want to make sure I do the things that are going to allow me to get top dollar for it, inside carpet and paint are going to be your highest return. I mean, it's hard to mess up painting.
And anybody can do it.
Yeah. Pick a neutral color, fresh paint. It's going to give it a fresh smell, make it feel like a new house, along with carpet. Also, makes it smell like a new house, gives it that fresh feel, new look, relatively inexpensive. Landscaping, all these things that just take a little bit of work, but are low cost are going to be your best bet. Getting your landscaping looking really good, getting your lawn looking amazing. Power washing, like cleaning is probably the lowest cost, highest payoff thing that you can do. You want your house deep cleaned, sparkling clean every single area, especially bathrooms and kitchens.
Sure. So I would imagine, when you're driving by a house and you see a for sale sign, in the yard, and you go, wow, that's a really nice looking house.
Yep.
We might have to make a call on this one, and then that way we can get on the inside. But it all starts with, I guess, a presentation or aesthetics.
Yep. And when, homes are oftentimes shown, they're sold on private showings, right? When buyers are walking up to your home, that's their first impression. You only get one chance at that. So having your walkways clean, having your, weed whacking, all that done really nicely, your hedges trimmed, your area around your front door pressure washed off so it's super clean, it's not all dusty and dirty with cobwebs everywhere. That gives the impression that you took pride of ownership in your house and you took care of it well. If all that stuff's bad, even if the inside of your house is amazing, they might go into it with not as good of a mindset. Like, what are they covering up here? What are they slack on? Looking for ways to, find that first impression elsewhere.
Is it a good idea if you're looking at a house and maybe you have some of those questions, like oh boy, it looks like they just put a Band-Aid on a pig or a dress on a pig here.
Yes.
Is it a good idea to bring a contractor with you, or maybe an electrician or a plumber, or just whoever you think might know more than you?
Yeah, so some people do that. The more common route is to make your offer contingent upon a home inspection.
Sure,
Then you get to hire a professional home inspector of your choice, and if they find anything that's really alarming that is not going to be able to be fixed, you're able to back out of the deal. Usually they'll find a handful of little items here and there, safety hazards especially. You have the ability to renegotiate and ask the seller to either give you credit for those items so you can fix them after closing, or ask the seller to fix them before closing. We always recommend getting a home inspection done. It's totally worth the peace of mind. It's worth every penny.
We've been hearing here for years that the cost of housing is so high in Grand Forks, comparing, to maybe other places. Is that really the fact here in Grand Forks, John?
Really, no, it's not. So, we're not too far off of Fargo. That's probably the most similar market nearby. There have actually been some changes to our local housing market, making it more affordable. There's one builder in particular that caters to that entry-level new construction price point that we didn't have in years past. I think they came, don't quote me on this, I think they came to town like either late 2017 or 2018.
Okay.
So that's an opportunity that buyers have that they didn't have before. Average sale prices stayed pretty much flat, like small, like $1,000 increases each year since like 2016. So house prices have not been inflating. If anything, the market has corrected over those last 5 years, where inventory has caught up to demand, making for a more balanced market. When people say that, they're often referring to the few years leading up to 2016, where prices were rising rapidly, and that was because of a lack of inventory.
Now, when you talk about renting compared to owning or buying a house, I get it with apartment houses. Some people maybe not physically able to mow the lawn or shovel the sidewalk or anything. But then you look at some of the prices of renting.
Yeah.
And you could probably get a mortgage for the same price, if not less.
Yep. That's a great point. So my thing is, I want to be 100% honest with my clients all the time. If it's better for somebody's situation to be renting, I'm going to tell them that. And there are situations where you're better off renting. If you're going to be moving in 2 years or less, you're better off renting. In your first 2 years of your mortgage, you're not going to get that much principal pay down.
Right.
And it's expensive to sell. You pay both sides of real estate commissions when you sell. You have your prorated taxes. You have your title fees. So it's not cheap to be buying and selling properties every 2 years. If if you're going to be living in it for less than 2 years, you're probably better off renting. If you're going to be living it for, closer to 5 years or more, owning is almost always going to be your best bet, because in that amount of time, you pay down more of your loan. You give the market more time for your house to appreciate in value. That's when you're really going to get the benefits.
So when
I can vouch for that. I mean, I was renting a condo for, I think I was paying like at least $1,500 a month, and I was there for 3 years. And I looked at it and I was like, geez, I damn near paid off half of this place by now, and I'm like, I have no ownership of it whatsoever. They're just,
Yeah. The benefit to renting is the mobility, but you don't get any of that wealth building power that staying in a home gives you.
So when you hear about guys buying and flipping houses, so obviously then the only way, because it sounds like a great deal, like you're going to make all this money, but there has got to be some major work when you talk about these fees and holding on to a house for at least 2 years. They've really got to do a lot of work to make the price way higher than what they bought it for then, because otherwise it doesn't really make that much sense.
Yeah, and thanks to the popularity of all those TV shows on HGTV and whatnot, there's a lot of people who want to flip houses, which makes it even harder to flip houses, because then you've got more people competing for good deals out there. The type of house a home flipper is going to be looking for is something that's as run down and beat up as possible.
Yep.
But without structural issues.
Sure.
And something that's in a good enough neighborhood that's going to support a strong after repair value.
Yeah.
That's a lot of times flippers consult with their real estate agents and say, hey, what's a reasonable after repair value on this house at 1300 Cottonwood Street.
So you're going to have a lot of time and skill to flip a house, or you're going to be paying contractors to do it all for you, and that all has to come out of the cost too.
Exactly. So the money is made on the buy with home flipping. You really need to be able to find those good deals, the most rundown houses with the most potential. The reason for, if you're going to be gutting it and ripping everything out anyway, it doesn't help if the stuff's in good shape. You want it to be as nasty as possible to deter all your traditional home buyers, because if the traditional home buyers are also competing for that listing, you're never going to be able to get a good enough deal where there's going to be a profit margin after flipping it.
This might be a dumb question to ask a realtor, but is it a good time to buy a house right now? I mean, I know you were mentioning interest rates pretty decent.
Excellent question. Yeah, it is a good time to buy. I had a client, I think I was telling you this before we were on, VA loan, 2.6%, 30-year fixed loan. So that's fantastic. That's cheap money. Conventional financing at like 2.99 or 3% right now on a 30-year fixed conventional loan. Really, really cheap money. A lot of buyers are taking advantage of that right now.
I've heard of VA loans. I guess I never put two and two together, but a place like Grand Forks, we find more and more. In fact, a lot of my friends are guys that served the country in the Air Force, and they wanted to stay here.
Yep.
And so this is perfect for them. I mean, if your tour is done or your time at the service is done and you're looking for a house, there is help out there, and they just got to get a hold of you.
Yeah, yep. We can put them in touch with a lender who does a great job with VA loans. Yeah, the VA loan is a wonderful product. No other way. I mean, there's one other loan type called the USDA loan, but you can't use that inside Grand Forks city limits. You can use it in East Grand Forks.
Okay.
Or rural. But that's the only other loan type that offers 0% down.
Wow.
VA loan, 0% down, fantastic interest rates. They do have certain condition requirements that, an agent like me, I'm able to coach them on exactly what they need to look for and how to, remedy any issues if there are issues. But overall, it's a really, really good loan product. Again, not people might see the 0% down and, I'm going to be very little money into it. It's still a big financial commitment to buy a house.
Sure.
You still don't want to be, even if you're using a VA loan, you don't want to be buying a house if you're going to be only living in it for 2 years. But if you're going to be, like we said, in that 4 or 5 years or more, it's a amazing loan product.
You touched on something that I think a lot of people have a big question about when it comes to even getting a house. I know it was like a huge concern for me, not with the VA, but 0% like zero money down. Because when you're like, when a situation like I was in where I'm paying $1,500 a month and that's pretty much my entire paycheck, like I don't have enough money to save up and get $20,000 to put down on a house.
Yep.
You know, so I always felt like I was just stuck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm assuming that there's probably ways that you can help people out with that too.
Yes. So that's a super good question. So, your cash to close isn't just your down payment. So in addition to your down payment, you've got closing fees. So you've got like you have to pay your years up front of homeowner's insurance. You have to pay prorated taxes for the portion of the year that you're going to be owning the house. You have to pay your lender's origination fee. You have to pay your half of the title work. So there's other fees that come into it. With what you're talking about, tons of buyers are in that same situation that you described, where they're like, I'd rather get into this thing with less cash out of pocket. I don't care if my payment's even a little more, but I'd rather have less cash out of pocket. That's something that a realtor like me or any other realtor at Berkshire Hathaway can negotiate for you and work it in so that the seller, kicks back some of their proceeds to help cover your closing costs. And those loan types allow that. They have a set percentage of the purchase price that the seller is allowed to kick back to you to cover your closing costs and help, make it as we don't want you to be tapped out with your savings account when you close on a house. You want to have a little bit of cushion still when you close on your house, because owning a home, there's lots of things that could happen. You want to feel secure about it. So it's important to tons of home buyers. It's really important to have that less cash to close.
So if you're not a vet, maybe not a first-time home buyer, you're looking for a house, what are the interest rates out there? What are they like now?
So like on a 30-year fixed-rate conventional loan, like 2.99 to 3%.
That's pretty good.
Low threes. It's going to be in that range. Varies person by person, but it's amazing. I mean, it's about as low as I've ever seen it.
Mm-hmm. Say you've got somebody out there right now, young family, looking for their first house. What would they do? What's the first thing they would do?
So the first thing that you would do is you want to get in touch with your professionals. So your professionals that are going to be guiding you along the way are going to be your mortgage broker and your real estate agent. So it's free for them to work with a real estate agent as a home buyer. So the earlier they get in touch with their real estate agent, the more value they get out of the transaction, right? I can refer them to a trusted lender. I've worked with tons of lenders in town, so I know what it's like to work with these guys. I know who have good rates. I know who are responsive, who pick up their phone when you call, who's going to answer your questions at 7 o'clock at night. So I can put you in touch with a good lender. That's going to be, so your first step is probably to contact me, get in touch, tell me what you're looking for a little bit. And then your very next step is going to be to get your application in with your lender so you can get your pre-approval letter. That's going to give you all your power as a buyer.
Right.
When you've got that pre-approval letter, that means if the right house comes up right now, you have the ability to offer on it. Until you have a pre-approval letter, you don't have that ability. So you're not going to be really taken seriously until
that's pretty important too, because I mean, when I was out there looking, it was like, oh, I see a house that I like, and then boom, there's 5 offers on it already, and I'm like, wow, it was like overnight.
If an attractive house comes up that's well priced, you can bet that there's other buyers who are interested in it as well. So you need to be able to compete. You need that pre-approval letter to be able to do that.
So like a good realtor like you, you're not a 9-to-5 guy. I mean, your phone has got to be ringing all the time with people. And I know some of these questions are legitimate questions, and I'm sure some of them are pretty dumb questions, but it's nice to know that there's somebody there to answer them.
Yep. I give all my clients my cell phone number so they're able to text me on evenings, weekends, call me. It's a situation where it's such a big deal for them. It would be unfair for me not to be there for them through the whole process whenever they need me. So.
Right, because they're relying on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't you give tell everybody what your number is right now?
My phone number is 701-213-5428. That's my cell phone number, so they can call me or text me on that number. Even if they just have questions about buying or selling, or selling their home to move up into a new home, I'm happy to sit and talk with people on the phone and answer questions and give information.
All right, you got a website or anything like that anybody could follow? Or
If you just go to jonbroden.com, that links to my website. I've got all the listings on there. It's a great search function. You can save searches. If you make an account, that's really when you get the most value of the website, where you can set it up set your search criteria so you're only getting the type of listings you're really interested in. It makes it so you're not having to comb through everything by little detail. You know, if you want something that's 225 with a 2-stall garage at minimum, it's got to have central air. It's got to be built after 1960. You can set that search up, and as soon as a new listing that hits, meets that criteria, hits the market, you're going to get it sent to you immediately. So,
I thought I knew a little bit about real estate, but as we sit here and talk with you, Jon, I'm a real estate dummy. And I feel like I have learned a bunch from here.
I'm glad. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add this morning here?
No. I think, I just would add that people, if they've got real estate questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Don't be afraid of, wasting my time with a dumb question. I love to talk real estate. I love to help people out. So
yeah, another thing too, with being real estate, I mean, you can kind of develop a relationship with the realtor. It's not like buying a car where they're just trying to nickel and dime you to, get you in whatever you want.
And that is true, because I actually became friends with real estate agents that I have dealt with.
Yeah. It's you go through something that's such a big life event together that you can't help but kind of, develop a relationship. I always stay in touch with my past clients, keep tabs on them, what they're up to, usually add them on Facebook and, see how their lives are going and all that. It's somebody who you have a connection with because you got to be a part of such a big step in their life. So.
All right. Well, if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, I'm thinking Jon Broden here is the guy to call from Berkshire Hathaway. And thanks for being on the show. And I'm guessing we'll maybe see you again here in the future.
Well, we're going to be doing a segment, I believe, every week.
Yeah.
So, look forward to this. I think, I'm not sure what day we had planned on yet, but every week we'll have somebody over here from Berkshire Hathaway to give some advice.
Lots of fun.
Awesome. I could keep getting educated here.
Yeah, exactly. You won't be a real estate dummy anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and
words.
that actually brings up a good point too. I mean, so if anybody's listening and they are on the market, write down some questions that you have, because on the next segment, when you come on, we can have people call in and ask those questions, or, chat with us on, social media, and, we'll make sure to address them, and I'm sure Jon will be able to take care of it.
We love listener questions.
All right. Well, thank you again very much, Jon. And again, if you want to get a hold of us, you can always call us 701-213-0863 or local at gfbestsource.com. If you have any questions about today's show, make sure you like, follow, and share us, all right? Hey, become a Podbean Premium subscriber. It's only $5, and you'll get entered to win that Weber Grill amongst other great prizes. It's easy to do. You go to your Play Store, you download Podbean, search GFBS, hit follow, and buy premium, and you are all set. Again, thanks to Jon Broden from Berkshire Hathaway. Tomorrow, Dirty Thursday. A couple of flagmen going to join us tomorrow. Mike and Brady, flag for the River City Speedway and Forks Karting Association. And late model driver Ryan Corbett will also be with us. So again, make sure you like, share, and tag us. Have yourself a groovy Wednesday. We're Grand Forks' best source, giving Grand Forks an identity again.